Now I'm very excited to welcome back one of our favorite guests, and Mr. Will Hill from Bear Bets. VSIN is in the Shoulda Bet More podcast. You can follow Will on X at not the Will Hill. Well, man, we are finished with college football, and it's kind of like the transition is full go into college basketball. How are your things on that side of the country?
Always good, man. Getting ready for the snow. It's funny. The season that starts back in the summer, 32 teams. It's hot. It's it's August, it's September. Before you know it, it is frigid. You're waiting on some snow, and we're down to 14. So excited to talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. Down to a brisk 68 today. So I'll see if I can get through. got a lot to cover though, man. You know, it's funny. It is such a quick switch into college basketball, and actually, not gonna lie, the college football annoys me. And next year, it's even going towards January 25th. I hear is the championship game, so I'm super annoyed by them. But on another note, we have to talk some NFL. Anything on these two games? I know it's not like you have big options this week in the NFL. Maybe some props. What do you like for the first game? We got Denver without a quarterback or with a ghost of a quarterback and who hasn't played in a few years. And Jarrett Stidham, we're looking at about +5. I'm gonna be fair and call it +5 in some books, and a total of 42.5.
I like both dogs. I like Denver. I think everyone has had the same reaction opinion, which always scares me. It seems like everybody's on the same side of it. Everyone's agreement, but I can't disagree. And look, it's just one game. Just because you're getting extra points doesn't mean it's going to manifest. New England can still come out and win the game 30-0. It's just one game. This line should not be 5.5. Denver was favored on the look ahead. Bo Nix is not Josh Allen or Mahomes. He's an average quarterback, and Stidham's a pretty average backup. I know he hasn't played in a while, but I miss a kid. I remember when the Patriots were thinking about using him. It was right around COVID. Michael Lombardi, our old colleague, now the UNC GM, was talking about how he was one of the best recruits in the country coming out of high school. Now, I know it's high school NFL. It's not really relevant, but it's not like they're picking somebody out of the stands. It's like they're picking a fan out of the stands to play quarterback. He can play a little bit. Nix isn't that good. Peyton's had experience coaching up these backups. I think this line is inflated. I like Denver.
I do too, and I think Payton's going to slow this game down and play to Stidham's strengths and play a defensive game, be smart. Everything that the Texans didn't do is what Sean Payton is going to do in this game. So I with you. And I'm even looking at the under. I don't know why this keeps going up. And once it hits 43, I'm seeing juice 115. This makes no sense to me. I'm going to be taking the under, I think, at some point. So that's another thought.
Yeah, I don't like the over. I would lean towards the under. The only thing, man, if you had the under last week in the Patriots game, you're probably scarred because there was no offense in that game. Both those teams are under 4 yards per play, and you look up, and the total was 41, and it somehow goes over. So It's hard now in the NFL with these low totals to stay under because the kickers are better. They can kick from anywhere. Field position's better. But I'm with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I like the under, but boy, you got to be a little bit burned if you had Texas Patriots on last week.
Whoever had that on I think you might have too. I'm sorry. That was all CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans being complete idiots. In a wet day, you're throwing the ball on their side of the field. You should just be punting it every time and pinning them and using your defense. That was absurd. And that shouldn't have happened, but I don't think it's going to happen this game. Seahawks. Yeah, it sounds like you like the dog a little bit. I kind of like the favorite. I guess we're a little disagreement here. I think I think that the refs are swallowing the whistles for the most part. What's really interesting is that the Seahawks at home really had such a close game with the Rams, and I kind of felt the Rams somewhat got screwed. That 2-point conversion was just so weird with the rule that a lateral is not a fumble. I'm still confused about that. I just think that the Seahawks are hot right now, and the Rams are just looking really bad against the Carolina Panthers and the Bears.
All of that is fair. It's a good spot for the Seahawks. They had a bye in round 1, and they basically had a bye in round 2 with San Francisco. I mean, that game was over after the kickoff return. I mean, a couple plays in it, you could have basically just turned that game off. That being said, it wasn't that long ago. These teams played on Thursday night, and the Rams, well, that game was a toss-up. The Rams were like a 1-point dog, a 1-point favorite some point in that line, some point in that week. The Rams are up 16 pretty late in the game. If they win the game, I mean, obviously, they're the 1 seed, they're home, so that flips it. But everyone, the Rams are like the undisputed best team at that point. That was with no Adams. That was out with some key guys out, offensive line, defense. I think they're going to be a little bit healthier. I mean, you're going to have Adams back. You're going to be a little bit healthier here. I just think these two teams are close to even, where I can't justify laying points. I still preferred Stafford to Darnold, who maybe Darnold's fine with the oblique. Maybe he's not. I still prefer McVay, even though McVay, that was not his finest moment last week against the Bears. He really did not call a great game, and he admitted as much after. So I just think toss-up game, I'll take the 2.5. I did get a 3, I think minus 115 early in the week. I just didn't see how that number would be 3. But I'm happy with where I'm at. I would still take the 2.5. I think this is a coin flip game, so it should be a lot of fun. And I know we'll get to the beer bet bangers, but if I like both dogs, Circa had this number last night. I don't have access to Circa. I don't know if it's still up. The Rams to beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl plus 900. If you like both dogs and you just want a little action on the game this week, you'll go into, if you get your 2 upsets, you then go into the Super Bowl with a nice middle or just a nice number you want to write out. I don't think Rams over Broncos 9-1. I don't think that's a bad bet.
All right. Well, there you go. Rams over Broncos. Yeah, the NFC's minus 230 to win. I checked this morning. I was thinking about parlaying that with a few things myself, making like a minus 200 close to even money, right? So I know I definitely like what you're saying there. I do think it's between Seattle and the Rams. I think this is the best 2 teams out there, and I think they're playing. This is kind of like the best part of the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Now, Patriots very fortunate to be where they are. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Well, that moves us to some college basketball, my friend. And both of us love college basketball, and it is time. I always like to ask, different questions. I'm going to ask something I haven't asked yet this year. Who do you think the most disappointing power conference type team is this year in college basketball?
They've played better recently, so maybe my answer wasn't age well. I still thought Kentucky with Pope would have a better year than what they've had. They pulled out some of these games, down 16 at the half, down 17 at the half. They won a coin flip game against Texas on Wednesday night when they were tied at the half. I still thought this would be a much better team than what we've seen. So it's not a perfect answer. You could argue it's St. John's, even though they're probably going to be a 4 or 5 seed. I thought with Pitino, with their arc, with what they did a couple years ago where they were a snub, and then last year they're a top 10-ish team, a 2 seed, they got upset early. I thought they would keep rising. I don't like their point guard play. I know they played a little bit better recently, but I'm disappointed in St. John's and I'm disappointed in Kentucky, even though those teams are Kentucky's probably going to be a 6 or 7 seed if the tournament started today, and St. John's a little bit better. But I just personally thought those 2 teams would be a little bit better than they have been.
Makes total sense, and I actually talked about how disappointed I was with Kentucky last week with Kyle Hunter. So they were up there, but I'm going to stay in the SEC and I'm going to raise you one with Ole Miss. What is going on with this Rebels team and Chris Beard? I thought this was going to be a big stepping up this year. You lose to Utah, you lose to Miami. St. John's handled you pretty well. But Jesus, the home loss to Auburn, I think I lost that bet. I thought this was kind of the time you're going to turn around, but you didn't. This team now at 11-8 is looking outside of the NCAA tournament. And a name like Chris Beard, you would assume would have this team up and going a heck of a lot more than they are now, especially from his Texas Tech days when he went to the national championship there. Barely beats a pretty bad Mississippi State team. So Ole Miss is my most disappointing team, Will.
That's a good one. Beard's not a guy you expect a disappointing season from. He's a tough coach, hard-nosed coach, and that is putting it lightly. Last year, they got in, they made a little bit of noise and played pretty well before they got bounced. So I'm with you. Ole Miss, you expect better things from as well.
All right. Well, let's get in some college basketball games for the week then. Actually, let's do buy low, sell high first. I had that written first. So let's do buy low, sell high. And this is an exercise we like to do every single week. I'm going to buy low on Xavier. And, I did bet them personally last night against at Creighton, and they covered. They didn't win. I was hoping they were going to win because I had a bid on the money line. But Richard Pitino is really a solid coach, and he lives in his dad's shadow. But what he's did at New Mexico, he had a bad deal at Minnesota. I think this team is kind of rising right now. So I'm going to be betting on Xavier as time goes. I think they have a tough game against UConn, but I still might be looking for a home dog here in Xavier coming up this weekend. So my buy low is Xavier.
Yeah, I like that one. I watched that ending last night, and I had a live under, hoping for not overtime, and he made a 2-point game. The kid makes the first one. He's about to make the second one, I think. They call timeout. They ice him. He misses, but gets his own rebounds and hits one at the buzzer to avoid an overtime, which was nice. I am going to stay in the Big East. Seton Hall has lost 3 in a row. They lost to St. John's by 5. a game where they were up pretty comfortably, let it get away. A bad loss at home to Butler and a close loss at home to UConn where they covered but didn't win. I just think this is a team, if you get them in the tournament, and right now they'd be right on the bubble, probably on the right side of the bubble. If you got in, we've seen Shaheen Holloway, the coach, we've seen his teams make run. They're feisty, they're big, they're long. They're just so hard to score on. And if you get tournament refs where they let that physicality go, I think they could be very dangerous and win a couple games. And if the bracket breaks right, who knows? Seton Hall is a team I am buying low on. They play at DePaul on Saturday.
I like it. And, unders with them coming up here too. Not the greatest field goal percentage. Amazing defense, ranking 10th in defensive efficiency. Average possession length, 196, 275th in tempo. So I'm with you on that one. Sell high. Let's look for I got a couple that I want to throw out there. I'm gonna go with Houston. And I do this every year at this time, probably, but Houston they're always suspect on offense with a great defense, but Houston has not played I guess a tough Big 12 schedule. They did, I will admit, have some pretty big wins against like Arkansas. They also lost actually to Tennessee, but they did beat Auburn. But man, there's nothing in the single digits there. And they got Texas Tech at home, but they got a tough game at Texas Tech away this weekend. I'm not super impressed about the way they play away from home. So Houston for me.
I'm going to be a little bit of ants at the picnic here. I know it's a great story. Miami, Ohio, 20-0. Look at the teams that are ahead of them in Bart Torvik. And they were very lucky to be. It was at Buffalo on Saturday. And then if Kent State could just inbound the ball on Tuesday night, Kent State wins the game. So they've been very fortunate recently. Some of the teams that are ahead of them, Yale, Stephen F. Austin, Northwestern, Grand Canyon, Wake, VCU, Boise State, Cal, Stanford. I know it's a great story. They're ranked, all of that. They got a loss or some losses coming. I don't think they're obviously not as good as their record, but I think this is a much better story than it is a team. So I am selling high here on Miami, Ohio.
I agree. And I'm sorry if you had Kent State, another overtime beat. Kent State is equal to Miami, Ohio, in my opinion. And one's ranked 89th in KenPom. One's ranked 147th. And how do you win all of your overtime games so far? All three of them and two of them away. That's some serious luck. So I'll write that down as well. The fade. Miami, Ohio, coming on up. Let's get into some games then, our six-pack of games. And I have a Friday one I picked, so I'll start. You're going to notice I'm doing a lot of stuff in the Big Ten, and you're going to notice I look at a lot of home road splits. Indiana versus Rutgers +7, total 147, and we're just guessing the lines. I think the line's coming out about right now. But Indiana's on a 4-game losing streak after going through the gauntlet of 4 top 20 Big Ten teams. Indiana didn't even make any of these close. None of them, and sure, football, loved it, right? Best story in sports, man. That was just amazing seeing them win that world championship, but they just took a step back in basketball. Funny how they kind of seem to focus now on football. It's a huge change for this university. Rutgers is the worst team in the Big Ten, no question about that. But they at least rebound the ball decent. They rank 82 in defensive or offensive rebounding percentage now. Rutgers at least played pretty tough at home against Oregon and Northwestern. They have the wins. They played Ohio State at home, only lost by 7. This is more about fading Indiana. Hoosiers ranked 348th in away game expectation versus result on Haslametrics. I'm taking the home dog. I'm taking Rutgers +7.
I don't disagree. And by the way, watching Indiana, Michigan the other day, you have to wonder, as happy as Indiana is with the football title, and that would broke my heart having Miami futures at some ridiculous prices. And I'm just, boy, it was a tough one. You have to think they played Michigan and say, man, did we really need to stick with Mike Woodson the extra year? Couldn't we have gotten rid of him and gotten Dusty May? Because you'd be set up right there with Cignetti coaching your football team and Dusty May coaching your basketball team with what he's doing at Michigan. I think Indiana probably made a mistake in terms of that one. I'll go Purdue, Illinois. What do you project this line to be? A Purdue 3.5, 4-point favorite, something like that?
I'm gonna say 3.5. Although those homes have been juiced, I will say I wouldn't shock me if it's 4.5. But I want to see where you're going with it first. So let's go with 3, 4, 3. Let's go with 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to lay it with Purdue. Purdue in a good bounce back spot after the tough loss to UCLA, where I think Mick Cronin is still whining about the schedule somewhere to whoever will listen. I don't like when teams lose their point guard. Boswell, handles the ball a lot for Illinois. He's a key defender. He's probably an NBA guy, second-round pick, probably not a first-rounder, but he matters. He's out. I thought they looked a little bit disjointed. Granted, they got by Maryland. They didn't cover on Wednesday night, though. And I just think on the road, especially without your point guard, this is going to be a tough environment against a hungry Purdue team. So I think Purdue in a bounce-back spot gets it done here against Illinois.
Huge, as a loss. And they shot 7 for 27 from 3 against UCLA. This is a bounce back spot and one of those just Big Ten home spots. Big Ten home teams over the past few years, if any of you listeners have not paid attention, have been quite hot. Illinois, little fugazi. I mean, they got by Iowa. That's their best win in the Big Ten because they lost at home to Nebraska, and then they get to play Northwestern, Minnesota, and Maryland. Pretty much a cakewalk for them. I think they're actually going to be in a little bit of trouble against a motivated Purdue. I will be with you laying those points. I would lay it all the way up to 5 points, Will. So let's hope that it's 3.5 or be even better when this game tips off. Move on to the next game. I'm going to go with Tennessee versus Alabama. Alabama has, and I'm projecting 4.5. Alabama is 4.5, and anything better than that be gravy. The total is 166. I think I just gave you my tell there. Alabama not looking great, but it's because of 3 injuries they sustained. Really 4, but they just got one guy back. The Vols do not look the same either. 6 losses this year, 5 losses away from home. Since Tennessee's big win against Houston, rough losses. Kentucky, Arkansas, Syracuse. How do you lose to Syracuse, man? Away from home is and this is kind of going through my idea for the whole podcast. Away from home, home road splits. The Vols rank 344th on Haslametrics away from home, shoot only 49.5 effective field goal percentage away from Knoxville. The consistent thing against the Vols is, and this is kind of interesting, all their bad losses are against fast-paced teams. Kentucky, Florida, Arkansas, all those teams are burners. And now they're playing Alabama, the biggest burner of them all. More possessions, more margin. Tennessee is 6-12 ATS this year, 33% laying the points with Alabama minus 4.5.
Usually when we do these together, we do pretty well. So I will not be fading you. I will be tailing you if anything. So I have to make a little note to myself to tail that one. I will go Nebraska and Minnesota, the undefeated Cornhuskers. What is going on in college sports? Indiana national champs in football, Nebraska undefeated in basketball. What is going on? I'm probably looking to be taking the points with Minnesota. 5-6. Do you think we're getting in that rate in that region? What do you expect the line to be on Saturday?
7.5.
I would love to take 7.5. Nebraska, look, like Miami, Ohio. Great story. They're a really good team, and they're obviously much better than Miami, Ohio, but maybe a look-ahead spot to a big showdown against Michigan a couple days after. We've seen it before. Winning on the road is so hard in conference play. I mean, you go back to the UConn team 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that just blowtorched everyone in the NCAA tournament. They actually struggled in conference play, lost 3-4 games here and there, lost to Creighton, lost games to Marquette. It's hard to win in conference play. It's hard to get up for every game. I think Minnesota getting an undefeated team in their building, getting 7.5 points, I think is a good spot for the Golden Gophers. I will be looking to take the home dog, especially if it's 7.5.
Absolutely. I'm with you completely on this one. It's funny. We both picked this game. We didn't know which side we were going to do, so we never say that. But I had to add another game because we both picked the same one. And I think it will be 7.5 just because everyone's been betting Nebraska. They barely didn't cover depending upon the line you got against Washington. But what nobody's talking about is who they lost last game, an injury. Braden Frager rolled his ankle, and I watched it, and it looked bad. Now he's going to come back. It's not broke. We got the report, but he is day-to-day, which means he's not playing this weekend. There's no way he was in the walking boot like that. He's going to get out there after rolling the ankle the way he did and actually play. And if somehow he does, he won't be as efficient. He plays 56% of the minutes. He was a very solid sixth man. He's their best sixth man. That's a depth piece. And Minnesota, much better home team than they are against the road. They could have beat Wisconsin there. Wisconsin had that 3 at the end, and as well as USC. They also beat number 20 Iowa at home. Will, Yeah, I'm on your side. I do hope it's 7.5 because that'd be great. I'm taking the home dog, but I like it all the way down to 4.5 or so. So I'm okay with whatever we get on this one. So 100% with you. Next game, I'm picking a Sunday game, USC versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin -7, total 161, I believe, because it's going to be a high total with USC. And I'm sorry, I'm going to put my homer hat on this time. I do fade Wisconsin a lot. But I was really hoping USC was going to win last night against Northwestern, but they didn't. So I wanted a little bit better with this line, but I'm still laying it. Wisconsin's a little undervalued. They're on a tear ever since that win against Michigan. They've had a lot of confidence, and has their losses against Nebraska, Nova, Purdue, and TCU aged well? I think so. I would say those are pretty good losses right now when you look at those 4 teams. Maybe not so much TCU, but definitely Nova and Nebraska and Purdue. The Badgers don't turn the ball over. 22nd in turnover ratio. Shoot a lot of threes. They make them at home. 56.5 effective field goal from the Kohl Center. Minus the overtime win at Minnesota. USC has been blown out in all of their other Big Ten road games. It's just so bad when they cross 2 time zones in the Big Ten, man. That's what we've noticed. They're in USC very injured. Rodney Rice, ever since they lost him after 6-7 games, he's been terrible. Rodney Cornish and Marion Dickinson also out. High pace, Wisconsin laying points, -7.
What do we think we're getting for Georgia, Kentucky on Saturday?
It's in Kentucky, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say Kentucky's going to be favored by what, 4, 5? Probably 5,
Yeah.
right?
I'm hoping it's a little less than that, but I'm still not a believer in this Georgia team. I just think they're one of these teams, and you know this from watching college basketball and digging into these stats. So many of these teams, the home road splits are so different on the road as compared to home, and Georgia just has not shot the 3 well. They got a nice win against Missouri that probably put them on the right side of the bubble for now and hit a late shot. But even in that game, 27% from 3, winning another road game, 2 in 4 or 5 days here can be tricky. Kentucky maybe starting to figure some things out after all these comeback wins. They got by Texas. They won. They didn't cover. So maybe Kentucky, even though they've been disappointing, like I was mentioned earlier, maybe there's an up arrow with them. And I'm just looking to fade Georgia on the road, especially after a big road win. So I do think Big Blue Nation gets this done here. I like Kentucky to win the game. 6 or 7 plus points. I do think Georgia just doesn't travel well here. So I'll lay it with the Wildcats.
Yeah, actually, Georgia's traveling to Texas, but the Wildcats are playing.
Oh my God, did I screw that up?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, but what your point is to fade Georgia.
I'm looking to fade Georgia on the road, and yeah, same thing. Yeah, I got too many things going on with football ending and all this stuff. Texas, tough loss. Look, Texas is another one of these teams right on the bubble. And the coach called him out last night. Miller said we foul too much. He had some colorful language in there. They do get to the line a lot, Texas, which offsets that. So Texas here laying a short number to, and I think it would be a pretty short number.
It's going to be 1 here. Yeah, Texas will be laying 1. I think
Texas gets it done at home.
All right, I'm going to go with that one as well. Texas on Saturday. That all 3. I think that is our 6-pack, and
that's it.
Brings us to beer bet bangers. So I heard parlay might be in your future. What did you mention for our beer bet banger?
Rams over Broncos in the Super Bowl. Shop for the best number. I know Circa had 9-1 late last night, early this morning. I would say anything 8-1 or higher is a good bet because I think both dogs are live here. So the Rams to beat the Broncos, exact Super Bowl matchup is the market you're looking for. I think there is some value there. And if you get both of them home through this weekend, you either have a nice ticket on Super Bowl Sunday when you're sitting there with your wings and your nachos and your pizza, or you could really get greedy and go for middle and take the Broncos plus the points and cash an 8-1 and middle it, which, people that had Indiana futures at 150, 200-1 were able to middle that ticket, which is something I'm extremely jealous of. But Rams over Broncos, exact matchup in the Super Bowl, anything 8-1 or higher, I think there's some value.
Then the Rams win, right?
Rams have to beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
Okay, because you can get plus 550 on just doing the money line parlay.
Yeah.
But you get 850 by adding the Rams to win, which I think is going to happen too. I think the Rams are going to beat whoever they play, and I'm betting the Broncos too. So it seems like a no-brainer to me. Absolutely love it. I'm going to go with Ole Miss, or not Ole Miss. I'm fading Ole Miss. Ole Miss, Alabama to make the Final Four. They're 40-1 now to win the national championship and 9-1 right now on DraftKings and FanDuel to make the Final Four. Now, I'm hoping they're not in Arizona or Michigan's bracket. I'd be okay if they're in Iowa State. I don't love it, but look, man, I think they could move up to the 5th team in because of those injuries and because they have a wonderful coach there. I think they're going to start coasting here. I'm betting on them this weekend. But Alabama's losses are mostly based to temporary injuries where they're going to be getting these guys back. Now, there's value on Alabama here, who was a Final Four team last year, thinking about it, coming up to the meat of their schedule. Maybe they lose in Florida, but I think they're going to be probably a 3 or 4 seed. If they can move up to a 2 seed, that'd be wonderful. But 9-1, yeah, I even like a little bit of 40-1 too, but we'll go easy on the 9-1 to make the Final Four. Will,
I like it, and I will say, as much as we love March Madness, we love upsets. The last 2 years there have not been a lot of upsets, especially last year, round 1 there was nothing. Just looking at the soft part of the bracket, if you look at the projected bracket, I think it's top heavy once again. I don't know how many of these top 1, 2, 3 seeds, 4 seeds are going to get picked off. I just think this 11, 12, 13, 14 range, I think there's a gap. I think it's growing. NIL, the big schools have more money. I hate to see a world where upsets go away in March Madness. Maybe it'll just be a situation where when they do happen, it'll be even more special. But I don't know if you feel differently. I don't know that we're going to get upsets in this tournament. I think it's going to be chalky like it was last year.
Yeah, it's going to be chalky for the first 3 seeds for sure, in my opinion, when they keep going. I think there's a big kind of gap somewhere in there where, well, first of all, I think there's a big gap for Michigan and Arizona. I think then the next level is Duke, Houston, Iowa State, Purdue, probably Gonzaga, Illinois, and then I would even draw another line.
UConn? Would you throw UConn in there?
Well, according to KenPom, they don't like him so much. I something's wrong with this UConn team. They're not perfect to me. I know Seton Hall fought well against them, and they went to overtime at Providence. I don't know, man. I don't think UConn is what they were 2 years ago yet. They're talking a big game and they're winning games, but this Big East is not so good either when you have, Creighton ranking 53rd, right? I mean, what is going on here? You look at Marquette, 122nd, dude. This Big East is just not what it was before. Now, I will say UConn is probably included in my top 12 and then the rest. But to be honest with you, Will, if I could get a number on Michigan, Arizona, and let's just say Iowa State over the field, I would for the first time ever, probably bet Michigan, Arizona, and Iowa State.
Oh, it's interesting. Okay.
And normally I don't. Normally I don't. I just think that Michigan and Arizona are such a force this year. Things can change. Injuries can happen. We don't know. And that's why you take some of these long shots. Hey, man, I would love to see Bama cash that ticket and get to the Final Four. But also love seeing Will. He's everywhere. This man's busier than with his kids and obviously on every single radio show that he can think of. My man, love listening to Will. Will, can you let our listeners and viewers know where they can get you great information?
Yeah, and not the Will Hill on Twitter, Fox Sports, Beating the Book Megapod, Should Have Bet More podcast. I am around. You can find me. So, Kev, excited for this weekend. Thanks for having me on. Always fun.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys check it, Will, at Not the Will Hill.